Hi, I'm Mike Bellevue. I'm the black powder editor for Guns of the Old West magazine. And today we're going to be shooting a gun that I call the Colt 1860 Thunderbolt. And this is a little fantasy gun that I made up about 10 years ago. And it's really fun to shoot, so I'll go through the features of it and then we'll do some shooting. If you've seen one of my other videos called The Ultimate Remington, you'll have seen a Remington fantasy gun I made up by cutting down an 1858 Remington to a shorter configuration. And this is going to be kind of the Colt corollary to it. This is a standard 1860 Colt Army. This is New Birdie from Taylor's & Company. Great gun. It's got an 8-inch barrel, pretty big, 44 cap and ball. And what I turned it into was this. And I call this the 1860 Thunderbolt. And as you can see, I shortened the barrel down to 5.5 inches, which is a comfortable length to carry. I put on bird's head grips, and voila. This is a gun that never existed, but it could have. Now, this is a cap and ball gun. In fact, I made this about 12 years ago on an Army San Marcos 1860, and that company is no longer in business. But you could do the same thing with Uberti parts today. I would not recommend doing this with Pietas. It's a lot harder to fit the grip frames, but you could. But Uberti is an excellent gun. You could do exactly this conversion with it. Now, the one other thing that I've done, because cap and ball is fun, and I shoot it with cap and ball a lot, but cartridges are definitely more convenient, and that's what we're going to shoot it with today. So, Kenny Howell at Howell's Old West Conversions, he makes a cylinder for 1860 Armies. And this one is a New Birdie cylinder, which will fit on Army San Marcos. It's got a few issues, but not bad. And as you can see, it's a 5-shot. And you just load them up and back and put this cap on. Now I'm going to show you. There are extra cylinder stops, and that's what makes this safe. And I'll show you how that works when we've got it loaded up. But it allows you to put the hammer down between chambers. So the way these cylinders work, pretty simple. You load them up from the back. With 5 rounds. And you put the cap on it that has the firing pins. And then this unit gets mounted on the gun. This is a pretty easy transition to make from a standard 1860 Army to what I call the 1860 Thunderbolt. First of all, Colt single action Armies, Colt 1860 Armies, and Colt 1851 Armies all have the same screw pattern for their grip frames. And therefore, all of the grips and grip assemblies interchange between them. Now, with different manufacturers, or even within manufacturers, you might have a little problem with overhang on the frame, but everything's going to screw up. You might have to file things down to make everything match, but in most cases, you're not going to, particularly if you stay within a manufacturer's offerings. So it's a very easy matter to, say, take a Uberti and put on their Thunderer grip frame, and you're halfway there. Everybody is pretty familiar with the Remington R&D cylinders, the drop-in cylinders, and those were designed primarily for shooters. But these Colt drop-in cylinders, Kenny originally designed them for Hollywood because they didn't want to be loading cap and ball blanks, which is much more time-consuming, obviously, than slamming in a new cylinder full of cartridge blanks. So this is a design that was really for the movies that has now gotten out into the regular civilian marketplace, if you will. And they're fun to shoot. So thanks to the Ken Howell drop-in cylinder from Howell's Old West Conversions, the Colt 1860 Thunderbolt is a dual threat gun. I can shoot it in cap and ball mode, or when I'm being more lazy, I can shoot it with cartridges. And we're going to shoot it with cartridges today just for the sake of the video to make it easy. Now, in cap and ball mode, the cylinder locks up perfectly, but you'll see I have an over-rotation issue with the cartridge cylinder, and that's really because it's made for Ubertis, and I'm kind of making it work in this Army San Marcos. And it works quite well in the Uberti guns, and it works well enough in the Army San Marcos just for fooling around and having fun. The Ken Howell conversion cylinder works perfectly in this 1860 Uberti made Army revolver. But even in this gun, the fact that you have to completely break down the gun in order to reload is definitely a limiting factor. So here we're shooting the Thunderbolt with black powder cartridges. And as I'm shooting it, you'll see that I'm periodically readjusting the cylinder as it over-rotates. If you're wondering what's the last thing the loser sees during a gunfight, here it is. If you're a fan of the 1860, but you'd like something a little more compact, you might want to put together your own Thunderbolt. Adding a Howell's Old West conversion cylinder gives you the option of shooting more convenient cartridges when you don't want to mess with cap and ball, but either way, the Thunderbolt is a fun gun to shoot.